Hello, everyone. I'm Dalton,
And I'm Clinton.
and this is the LA Do Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LA Do Podcast, where we talk about everything from movies to comics to video games and everything in between. On today's episode, we got part 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 3. As we talked about last time, part 1 was movies 11 through 6, as there are 11 movies in Phase 3. And so today we'll be discussing movies 5 through number 1. I'm expecting these lists to kind of be different all the way up to possibly the first two. I feel like the first two might be the same, but we'll see. And let's get right into it with our number 5. No playing around in this episode. Clinton, what is your number 5?
My number 5 to start off is Black Panther.
Okay.
I didn't feel it should be on the tail end of this list where it comes for Phase 3. Not saying that you had it at the tail end,
but actually, let me say something. I want to justify why I put it so high last time, and I stand by it. The CGI.
Yeah.
Rewatching some scenes from Black Panther, I was looking at the CGI, and I was not a fan of it. The opening sequence looks fine-ish, like where the opening fight sequence that he does.
Mm-hmm.
It looks okay in some parts. Other parts you could just tell it's not horrible CGI because it's still it's a high grade movie. It's not horrible CGI.
I mean,
it's
how many $1 million did they spend on it?
But that's what I mean. It's like it wasn't horrible CGI. It's just it threw me off watching it again because I can see just how fake it looked, especially when he's throwing the guy into the truck or the car or whatever it was. And he like dents it. It just looked so
honestly
bad.
It reminds me of some of the CG used in X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah,
you can compare it a little bit.
Yeah, X-Men Apocalypse had some. It was not as bad.
I wouldn't
CGI.
say it's bad and it's cheap. I'm saying it's wonky.
No, but I think
different.
I think the reason that it had so weird CGI is because I don't think the virtual effects artists had that much time to do it. I think they only had a couple months to do it before they had to send it off.
Yeah.
I think, once again, I was watching, it was from the video of, it was Corridor Crew doing the virtual effects. I think they might have said that they got it in October and had to get it out by December. And the movie was, it came out in February of 2018, so it had to be pushed out far. That's the only thing I have to say about it because that's just my justification. Because I was rewatching it and saw the CGI again, and I was like,
X-Men Apocalypse or Black Panther?
Black Panther. Black Panther was
Okay.
more recent because
You
I was watching.
X-Men
I did
Apocalypse
watch Apocalypse, but I wouldn't. It's not the CGI that really threw me off. It was some of the acting choices in Apocalypse that had me thrown off, and the pacing. But that was about it. Felt too much like it was trying to copy. And this is a little off topic, and I'll end it after this. Honestly, it felt like. In Apocalypse, they were trying to copy X2, X-Men United, especially with Stryker. I want to talk about the X-Men films later, but especially the timeline, because the timeline gets messed up in the X-Men.
I love the fact that this was obviously X-Men Apocalypse is before Dark Phoenix.
Yeah,
and it was like this was the first bad X-Men movie when it came when it came to like the prequel universe, the one with First Class, Days of Future Past. Stuff like that.
The First Class trilogy.
First Class was fantastic. Days of Future Past was good, but not as good as First Class, of course. And then this one was that movie was just not good. So
Apocalypse was not as bad as I remember it to be.
No, but I'm sure Dark Phoenix was way worse.
We still have to watch Phoenix.
I'm not going to talk bad about it because I haven't seen it. But I know that. I know
decisions made in it, especially because it was because of Captain Marvel.
Well, I wasn't even.
Some of these decisions were
I wasn't
made,
even fond of Apocalypse, and I read that it was worse than Apocalypse. I'm like, okay, this is not my movie, and I haven't even watched it. But I'm not gonna.
Second attempt at the Phoenix
if I haven't watched it, I'm not gonna say it's bad. However, I'm not gonna go in. It's like how I walked into.
That's BS. we can talk how bad a lot of movies were and not watch it, especially the Fantastic Four reboot.
I mean, I walked into Last Jedi knowing it was going to be bad, and then I walked out more upset than before.
Well, no, it's the fact that with Last Jedi, and this is more of a reason why I'm doing a standalone. Like, we're going to do a standalone episode of why we think The Last Jedi is so bad.
I think we should do standalone episodes on each Star Wars movie.
Possibly.
There's so much to talk about each one.
Well, it would be better to do each trilogy. Not
fair. I can give you that.
But I want one episode somewhere down the line of why we think Last Jedi is so bad, because there are so many reasons that The Last Jedi is so bad. But going back to what you were saying, The Last Jedi, it's not that we knew it was bad. We knew that it was divided.
Oh, I mean, I walked in knowing it was. I probably wasn't going to enjoy it.
But you know what I mean. It was very divided because Mark Hamill had said that he did not like the direction that Luke was going in. He was justified in that.
There have been 2 sequels to trilogies here recently in the last 10 years that have just really bothered me, and that is the Last Jedi, which was
Fallen Kingdom.
Yes, Fallen Kingdom.
I was not really a fan of Fallen Kingdom.
Here's my thing: Fallen Kingdom is not a bad movie. I'm not saying it was horrible. Bad. What I'm saying is that it bothers me because Jurassic World was pretty good, and then that movie wasn't too great.
We need to get back on topic, but I'm also glad we're doing this because it is not as many movies on this list.
Yeah, just talking about stuff.
Yeah, we need to elongate it a little bit. Not necessarily for mid rolls. It's not mid rolls because we're not those kind of YouTubers. But with not Jedi Fallen Order. I was going to say Jedi Fallen Order.
That's a video game.
With Jurassic World and with Force Awakens, the reason they were so good and so popular is because they followed the basic first movie.
I low-key thought you said Force Unleashed, and I was like, you're talking about video games again. But yes, Force Awakens.
I could get mixed up with both, okay?
Dude, Force Unleashed was good, though.
I wish they would remaster that. Anyway, or bring Starkiller back in canon. That'd be nice.
That'd be nice.
We need to talk about that. I want to talk about, things that they could possibly do with canon in another episode.
Want to talk about Black Panther?
I digress. That's what I'm trying to get back at. I'm trying to get back at that. But what I was saying before we get back to Black Panther, with The Force Awakens and with Jurassic World, they basically followed the first movie. Jurassic World followed pretty much the same thing in Jurassic Park, which is true. Force Awakens did the same thing with New Hope. Yeah, that is very true. There are so many similarities. And because the sequels took a different direction and are doing similar stuff with directors, because they went back to the director of the first film, with Colin Trevorrow doing the third one now of Jurassic Park, the Jurassic World trilogy, and J.J. Abrams doing the first and third of the sequel trilogy in Star Wars. They're following the same pattern, and that makes me really, really worried about Jedi Fallen Order. I'm still talking about that stupid game. It was a good game, but it makes me worried about Jurassic World Dominion. Because
I agree.
It could go the same way and divide fans of that franchise the same way it did Star Wars. And I really hope it doesn't. Bless you.
I was going to cut that out, but okay.
You can still cut it out.
Yeah, of course.
Back to Black Panther, because I already talked about Black Panther in the last episode. I don't need to talk about it anymore. You talk about it. You want to talk about it.
No, you want me to talk about it now?
Yeah, talk about anything that you possibly didn't get to say the last time. Because since it's different places on the list, why don't you just go ahead and say what you think about, or not necessarily think about the film, but something that you didn't add that you enjoyed or not enjoyed, and why it's number 5.
No, Black Panther. I didn't want to shut up. I didn't want to put it on the other end of this list because I just felt it didn't deserve it, because it didn't deserve the placement it had right before Infinity War, because people were even myself were just too excited about Infinity War to be really excited about this movie. Even though I went in hoping, and then I enjoyed it. Not as much as Infinity War, of course, because we haven't even seen Infinity War on my list yet. But I think the acting was good. I think the actors they chose were good. The soundtrack for the movie, amazing.
Yeah, that's disputable.
I thought the Kendrick Lamar album was really good.
Well, I thought it was
has nothing to do with the movie, but it was pretty good.
I thought it was kind of messed up in the South Korea scene. They include
Post Malone.
No, it's not Post Malone.
I thought it was.
It's Psy. Gangnam Style guy. Yeah, it's his song. It's Hangover featuring Snoop Dogg. I thought that was kind of messed up.
I thought it was Posty. I'm sorry.
No, it is because I can hear Psy. I've listened to Psy enough, like the few songs that I've listened to enough to tell what it was. It was his verse. It was before the Snoop Dogg verse and the chorus of the song.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of messed up, but I mean,
That's
culturally, they could have picked something different other than Psy, but Psy was still kind of big, and it was before BTS or anything, so I guess it kind of made sense. So, I don't know.
BTS South Korea?
Yeah, BTS is South Korea.
I didn't know if I thought K-pop. It was. I knew it was K-pop. I just didn't know if it was South Korea.
Yeah, it's South Korea. It's South Korea, and it's a lot of people get K-pop mixed up. It is Korean. It's South Korean.
Yeah. All right.
And Psy is South Korean.
Well, but I really did think the soundtrack for it was really good. And I thought the original trailer, as I talked about in the last one, I thought that the camera work in the trailer was really good.
Was it the original trailer or was it the second trailer?
The original, I don't know if it was the original
trailer.
The
one that opened with Claw talking.
I'm referring to the one that had Run the Jewels in it.
I don't know which one that was.
It might have been the first.
You're saying names that I don't know.
Sorry. We listened to different things.
No, I was asking because I haven't listened to the soundtrack.
Well, that's not in the soundtrack.
I know, or like anything to do with like trailer music. I just know that the one with Claw in it at the beginning talking about, have you ever heard of a place called Wakanda? And they talk about it.
Well, either way, I thought all of the trailers were good, really.
I thought that trailer was the best.
I know which one you're referring to.
Showed more.
But I thought Michael B. Jordan did great. I thought Chadwick Boseman did good. I just thought this movie was overall good. It could have been great. Could have been some things that help it with a little bit more, but pretty good. And it's gotta be my number 5. It'd probably be my number 5 in the regular list of all the movies. Either that or pretty close to it for me. But moving on, we just discussed Black Panther in the last episode, but going on to your number 5.
I think we discussed my number 5 in the last episode too, because mine is Civil War.
Okay, yeah.
Because, and I know before people talk about it, I've heard this discussion before. Yes, it is not the same as the comic Civil War. They couldn't do the same thing. They didn't have the heroes.
Wasn't it supposed to be named something else before?
I think it was supposed to be named something else.
Because the original Phase 3 was supposed to have Inhumans in it, wasn't it?
I don't know. Inhumans was the TV. It was supposed to be a TV series and not a movie, and they failed at that anyway.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was supposed to be named something different. It might have been. I think it might have been, but I think Civil War deserves to be at least midway, just because I understand that it was because of the plot that a lot of people didn't like it. It had a lot of similarities
and by
to
a
Batman
lot of people,
v Superman.
He's referring to me.
Well, you and there's a number of people, and a lot of people that I've seen talk bad about the movie is because of, it's not at all like the comic. And that is true. It's not like the comic. The same stuff that happened in the comic couldn't happen in the movie. Especially with the bombing of a park with a number of, I think they were mutants. They might have been Inhumans. I'm not sure. But several heroes died in a park bombing by somebody. That sparked the whole Superhero Registration Act, which in this movie was the Sokovia Accords. It made sense for the movie, and they had to loosely, do the movie on the comic. Wish Crossbones was in there a lot more, other than dying in the first roughly 20 minutes.
Something like that.
But it was also interesting that they chose to have Scarlet Witch kind of take the blame, personally and in the movie, kind of take the blame for the event happening.
Yeah.
It added more depth to the character, I felt, just because it's like, she feels bad for doing this. Like, she blames herself for killing these people, for hurting these people, when it really wasn't her fault. She was just trying to get it out. She couldn't hold it any longer, and there was a bomb strapped to his chest. And I understand that a lot of people didn't like the way that Captain America was basically just, Bucky. I gotta say Bucky. He's my friend, Bucky. I understand that.
That was a lot of Buckies.
It's not even as much as he said Bucky in the film, I guarantee it. But kind of pushing it to more of like the bromance between Bucky and Cap. It's weird. I don't know. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but you cannot deny that it was great for some of the things it introduced, especially being it introduced Ant-Man to the rest of the Avengers. It had Scarlet Witch being a main focus, more so in a less weird way than in Age of Ultron. It introduced Black Panther and Spider-Man. Giant Man showed up, which I was not expecting.
That was pretty cool.
And Baron Zemo was a good villain because he did something that no one could do up until Thanos could. And that's divide the Avengers. Baron Zemo was able to do that. You know what I mean? And you cannot deny that he's a good villain for doing that. He was able to break up the Avengers and make it easier for Thanos, even though he didn't know about Thanos. Honestly, that's probably all I got about it. I mean, the trailers made it look awesome. A lot of the comic book shots in there were awesome, especially with the shield and Iron Man doing the repulsors on it. That's ripped straight out of the comics, and that was really cool. And leading into the teaser for Black Panther was really cool, even though it would be 2 years until you get Black Panther. I mean, other than that, I thought it was pretty cool. And it was a decent movie. It's not the best movie, but it's a decent movie. But moving on to your number 4.
Coming in at number 4 for me is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Bold choice to put it over Black Panther and Doctor Strange for myself. But
not really bold to put it over Black Panther.
I really just think that both Guardians of the Galaxies, just walking into Guardians of the Galaxy 1, not expecting that great of a movie, and then it was phenomenal. Had high hopes for this movie, and then I go into this movie. It's not as good as the first one. Let me tell you, it's pretty freaking good still, even watching it 2 or 3 times after, you know? It's weird that it's technically the same year, still 2014, right after the first one, but, I mean, I think it stands as one of the better Marvel movies. Yondu, you know, at the very end passing, and I just think that, you know, I really feel that it holds up compared to some of the stuff you'd see in Phase 1. I mean, of course, I would put it over Incredible Hulk or Thor, but I mean,
stop bringing up Incredible Hulk and Thor.
No, I'm not talking bad about it, but I mean, I would.
I'm just saying,
I would
bringing
compare.
it up.
I would compare Guardians and Guardians 2 just as good as First Avenger. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that those were.
Whoa, that's.
I would definitely put Guardians 1 over First Avenger.
Say over. Are you okay?
Oh, I didn't. I didn't like First Avenger that much. I liked it, but I didn't like it that
work
much.
Today.
No, I didn't. I would say this 3 years from now.
I'll smack you.
Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is better than Captain America and First Avenger, in my opinion.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking about the Avengers or the first Avenger?
The first Avenger.
When you said
Captain
the first,
America.
I heard the first Avengers, as in the first Avengers movie. You have to clarify and say Captain America.
Oh no, I would say it's pretty. I would say it's pretty close to the first Avengers movie, but I wouldn't say. I would put Avengers over Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes.
I thought you were saying Avengers, and that's why I was getting really,
I would
irritated.
definitely put Avengers over Guardians of the Galaxy, but I would say it's pretty close.
I'm going to smack you if you say Captain America.
Say
the first Captain America. Just going by the first Avenger.
The first Captain America Avenger. No, I mean I'd say Guardians 1. It's not Iron Man great, but I'd say it's as good as like Ant-Man. I'd say Ant-Man's not as good, but
it'd be in the top. What there's 20,
I would put Guardians
3 movies.
I would put Guardians 1 in my top 5.
What, there's 23 movies in the MCU? It's in the top 10.
Oh, it's in my top 5, most definitely.
Well, I'm just saying top 10 to give it some leeway. Odd. But number 4 out of all Phase 3. I get it's Phase 3. It's not the whole MCU.
Oh, so Guardians 2?
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, Guardians 2, I mean, it's just great.
I mean, I understand that's your opinion.
I understand that you wanted to see more of the planet of, you know.
I wanted to see more of Ego. Ego is a living planet, not just. And also, he's a celestial. You know what I mean? He is a celestial. He's supposed to be like this big, entity, and he is because he, gets outreach into the galaxy through means of planting. what is it technically? It's not a tumor, but it's like the growth. I guess you could actually say it was a tumor, pretty much. And then it's kind of like metaphorical for the tumor he put in Star Wars' head. Or Star Wars' mother's head, I'm sorry. And then the same thing they did to him with blowing up his head. But
I like how both times we've talked about Guardians 2, you've said metaphorical, which just makes you
shut
think
up.
of
Don't
Taserface.
Please don't bring up Taserface. Your audio will jump up if you yell Taserface.
I hurt my throat last time I said Taserface, believe it or not. So I'm not going to... Taserface.
Because your gain will go through the roof if you yell Taserface. Like
yeah, I'm not gonna do that again, especially for our listeners who have headphones. But no, for real though, Guardians 2 is definitely one of the better ones. Like I was debating between this one and my number 3 of which one I thought was better. But no, and also before we move on from Guardians 2, you know, I was talking about how great Black Panther soundtrack was. Let me tell you, Guardians 2 soundtrack's it's pretty good. Just as good as Volume 1. Mr. Blue Sky just gets me in a good mood. So
if you listen to it enough, it's an annoying song.
I've never been annoyed by it.
Well, especially later in the verse, it's annoying. Because it starts being like kind of broken up in techno and it just doesn't sound good and it throws you off from the song. And that's why I don't listen to it anymore. I can't listen. I will listen to the first soundtrack all day. I can't listen to the second soundtrack just because of Mr. Blue Sky.
You can skip it and get to Fox on the Run.
I know, but I just can't. I mean, there are songs on the second soundtrack that I like. I like, I think it's just called Brandy. That one I like because it has a story to it. But, like, most of the soundtrack, I just can't.
That's debatable. But moving on, what is your number 4?
Homecoming.
Okay.
Spider-Man Homecoming, and it's just because I thought it was a better movie than some of these, and I enjoyed it a lot more. I am a Spider-Man fan. And yes, before people go into comments, there's not going to be any comments. If there were anybody in the comments to say that the Raimi films are god tier, I would smack them across the face because you can't just go off of one trilogy.
I like to think Josh would say that.
Yes, he would. He would say that.
That's our uncle, if you didn't know.
But that's just because everyone grew up with the Raimi films. I grew up with the Raimi films. That was the only Spider-Man films out there, excluding like the 70s and 60s stuff. And that really wasn't movies. That was more of the TV series and the Japanese series. Like, Spider-Man, the Raimi trilogy was Spider-Man for a lot of people.
Great.
It was good, yeah.
Great.
It was good. But they say the same thing for it wasn't Amazing Spider-Man. Was it? The series? Not the movie. The series. The animated 90s series.
Oh, the 90s?
Wasn't it just... It was Spider-Man, the animated series, I think. And it was followed up by Unlimited, I think. Unlimited Spider-Man. And that is just... like, it's like comparing Unlimited Spider-Man to the rest of the thousands of Spider-Man animated series, except for the newest one, because that one's garbage. Just look at the animation style. It looks god-awful. Like, when you look at Spider-Man... people only talk about the Raimi series, they only talk about Spider-Man the animated series, and they only talked about Spectacular Spider-Man. That is the only thing they talk about. They don't say anything else about, like, Ultimate Spider-Man, the series, on Disney XD. They don't talk about the 60s Spider-Man, just because it was old. They don't talk about Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Like, some of the stuff that we grew up on, especially Spider-Man and his amazing friends. I remember watching that a lot. Like, they don't talk about that, and it's not fair to just be biased because you grew up with this thing. Learn to like the other films, especially when it came to the Amazing Spider-Man series, because everybody was pissed off that Raimi wasn't getting a 4th film or wasn't doing a 4th film. So they gotta say,
I mean, I definitely would say that the leaked ideas for the Sam Raimi 4th film would have been something I wouldn't have wanted to see.
Well, I don't even know if that was true.
Which I'm not saying it is, but...
I don't know if the it was Black Cat. No, it's Catwoman. Right?
No, Black Cat.
Black Cat, I was right. Black Cat. Catwoman, I keep getting the names wrong. I know the people, but I just keep getting the names wrong. Black Cat in Raimi Spider-Man 4, I don't know if that was true or not. I know Black Cat was supposed to appear. I don't know if it was necessarily true that the story would have taken the same place, because I know Mysterio was supposed to be in it. And I can't remember if it was supposed to be I think it was supposed to be Vulture. And then it was supposed to be Lizard in the 5th one. Or something. and then there was supposed to be a Sinister Six or something. I don't remember, but yeah, it was just leaked stuff. Like I said, it's leaked. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if Raimi ever commented. I know there were storyboards showing Bruce Campbell, right? He was in all three Raimi films as different characters. He was supposed to be Mysterio. So that's all I know. But like,
I would watch Spider-Man 3 a million times over the other two, the two Amazing Spider-Man movies.
That I would watch Amazing Spider-Man, not Amazing Spider-Man. I would watch Spider-Man 3 over Amazing Spider-Man 2, but Amazing Spider-Man is at least watchable. It is watchable. I mean, at least it had the lizard, even though it was a weird version.
Both of them are watchable. You can press.
No, not.
You can press play on a.
No,
remote.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 will mess up your whatever streaming service, DVD player if people still use those. Your game console if you use that to do movies. It'll mess it up because it's that garbage of a film.
I mean, I could say the same thing about Last Jedi, but
no, I'm just saying because Amazing Spider-Man 2. But my point is, after going on that tangent, Homecoming wasn't horrible. It was a good film. It was, in the Ultimate Comics, Spider-Man looked up to Captain America. You don't see people, bagging on Ultimate Spider-Man. People thought Ultimate Spider-Man was a good series, especially before Miles Morales. They thought Ultimate Spider-Man was good up until he died. To not say the same thing about Homecoming just because they say that he's looking up to Iron Man doesn't mean anything. Look, in the original Civil War, Spider-Man sided with Iron Man. And I know he, left him, but in this case, Iron Man kind of left Peter, because we'll get to it. But you can't, just say crap and say Iron Man Jr. That is all I see all over the internet, especially on, the Instagram communities for, these Marvel and the Spider-Man stuff. They say, Iron Man Jr., Iron Man Jr. They crap on Spider-Man just because in the film, he has an alliance, an allegiance with Iron Man, because that is the guy that gave him his suit. It's the guy that helped him out. You can't just, crap on the film just because of that. That is story decision because of the way the MCU is going. Just to bag on that because you guys or that people are, Raimi only type of people, it's not fair to the film, to the actors, everything, to bag on it just because you like one particular movie, one particular series, or trilogy. Same thing with Star Wars, but, some of the films deserve to hate, especially Last Jedi. But that's all I got to say about that. I thought it was good. I thought Michael Keaton as Vulture was amazing. That is the best part of the film. You can fight me on that if you want. I don't care. That was the best part of the film. He was the best part of the film. Having Tom Holland as Spider-Man was really great too, and Ned was amazing. But Michael Keaton as Vulture was the best thing. But moving on to number 3. People are going to get mad at me for number 3 probably. But you're number 3.
Homecoming.
Okay, so people are just going to get mad at you.
Okay, yes. So, let's get a little bit more mad. Let's get a little more mad at me. Spider-Man Homecoming, besides the mistake at the beginning of the year gap.
Yeah, which still irritates me.
Spider-Man Homecoming, for me, is the 3rd best Spider-Man film ever created.
Okay, so let me guess. It's Raimi Trilogy 2, 1, and then this one.
Not in a particular order, but yes.
So you would say Raimi Trilogy 2, this one, and then Spider-Man 1.
Either that, or I would say...
and then you'd probably say Far From Home... Or no, 3, Far From Home, Amazing Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Unless you swap...
You want me to rank the Spider-Man movies right now?
Just say it real quick, because I'm trying to guess.
Honestly,
I'm probably not going to rank these movies.
Honestly, if I were to think about it right now, which I would have to rewatch it and do that if we wanted to rank these as another episode. But right now, it would probably be Spider-Man 2, Homecoming, Spider-Man, Far From Home, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay, so
that's from best to worst.
I was basically almost right.
Yeah,
because I said
no. I would put no. I don't dislike Far From Home. It's just the fact that I don't like it as much as Homecoming. I definitely wouldn't say Spider-Man 3 is better.
Really, only watched Far From Home once.
I've watched it.
Okay,
2
never
times.
Mind. I've watched it once because I haven't been able to get it on DVD, and it's not on streaming services yet. So, which I don't understand, but
it just Spider-Man: Homecoming. Getting back to why it's my number 3, is just the fact that it is what you would expect to see a Spider-Man. Because
to see a Spider-Man.
No, it's to see as Spider-Man.
Okay, thank you.
In the way of Tom Holland is realistically
he looks like
freshman
a teenager
or sophomore in high school. Now, granted, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Mans were senior year high school students.
Hold on.
But
Tom Holland, in the first Spider-Man film in the Raimi trilogy, he was a senior. In the first Amazing Spider-Man, I do believe he was a junior. Because in the second film, he graduates.
Yeah.
So I think he's a junior. Because I think it takes place right after that year. Because Gwen's dad's already dead and has been dead and they're kind of dating again. I think. I could be wrong. They could have been... It only makes sense because if you look at Andrew Garfield, he does not look like a sophomore. He would not look like a sophomore back then. I think that's what Tom Holland's Spider-Man is. I think he's a sophomore.
Well, I think Tom Holland, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they say he's 15, which would make him...
Yes.
I would say it would make him either a sophomore or a freshman.
And to put it this way, in the MCU, he was born in May, I do believe. I think because on his passport in Far From Home, it says May 2000 something. So he is around he is 15 in Civil War. So he's probably 15, like 16 or 17 by the time not Homecoming, but like Infinity War and stuff came out, because it is a little after. Like I said, I get mixed up on the Marvel timeline because they kind of change it up a little bit.
Well, now it's a little hard because his age paused.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing where it ended. So whatever it says in Far From Home would be whatever it would be in Infinity War.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever said a year. It might have said 2000 and then just kind of blank it out. Because realistically, he would have been born in like 2000 something. Like 2000, from the year 2000 to 2002 probably. That's what I would say is his age.
Yeah.
Because 2016 is when Civil War is based and he's 15. So that would mean that he was born in like 2001.
Yeah.
Depending on when the movie took place. I don't know when it took place because I don't think there was ever a definite time, like month or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I know for a fact that movie is based in 2016. So he was born at least in 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
Had to be 2001 at that point. So he looks realistic as a high school student. That's the one thing the Raimi films, and I think mainly the Raimi films, get wrong is because the high school students, especially Peter and Flash. Flash, I forget the actor's name. Forgive me. He was set to play Deathstroke in the DC universe right now. Like, he was set up for the Batman film with Ben Affleck. He was set up at the end of Joss Whedon's god-awful Justice League. He was supposed to play that character. I forget who he's married to. I know it's a little off topic, but it's somebody. But they don't look realistic. However, like Zendaya and Tom Holland look realistic because Tom Holland just has that young face. He had such a young face that when Chris Hemsworth took him to a bar, they did not believe that Tom Holland was of age. Like they did not believe that he was 21, and he was 21 at the time. This was probably during Infinity War. Had to be if it was him and Chris Hemsworth. Well, no, not true. I think they worked on a film before that. I don't know. I digress. He just looks realistic. Zendaya has played a high school student before. She looks realistic. She looks very young, especially with the character that she was playing. Not like too flashy or over the top high school. She was, a realistic loner character. You know what I mean? So they look realistic. But what else do you have to add on your number? We're on number 3, right?
I'm going to
I went a little off. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to keep it since, you talked about it and your number 4 and you kind of went off there. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet, and then I'll let you get to your number 3.
I just said what I enjoyed about it.
I'm just going to keep it short and sweet with one thing, and that is it was refreshing to see a first Spider-Man movie without the origin story of how he got his powers.
Yeah, that's good
it was
too.
very refreshing, and that's why I think it was a new take on it, and I think it was very. They could do whatever they want with it because it's not the original origin story of Spider-Man. It's already happened. We move on.
At that point, without an origin story, that probably would have been a second film.
Yeah.
Even though Spider-Man never really. I don't think he went against anybody like superhuman before he met Iron Man. I think at the point of Civil War, he met it was only a couple months.
He was just a very local, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Legit, just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. One thing we have to bring up before we get into Infinity War, I know that's in the top, like the upper, the Iron Spider suit. Briefly, real quick, it being revealed at the end of Homecoming was cool, but kind of disappointing that it wasn't the Iron Spider from the comics. I'll leave it at that so we can get to an Infinity War. But my number 3 is Far From Home.
Okay.
Hear me out before you say anything. The reason I think Far From Home is, for one, I've only watched it once. And so it's off of, my memory. I enjoyed it a lot more than some of the films. I thought Far From Home was a good film. And it was different. I especially loved Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I absolutely loved it. And it leaves, without getting into the plot of the film, just talking about the stuff about it, the ending, there is absolutely, and back me up here, there is no way Mysterio died. There are too many factors in there that say that he is still alive.
I would agree, yes.
Number 1, why would he, in the film, tell, to put it in context, if you haven't watched it or if you don't remember, Mysterio, he lied about being from a different Earth, a different dimension or Earth in the multiverse. The multiverse is a thing, as we know from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It will be a thing. But with this, him lying about being from a different Earth, he actually just has a group of people that used to be part of Stark Industries, just like he was. Why would he tell, for one of the people that does his costume, the physical costume, not the sort of CGI projected costume from the drones, why would he tell her to get the cape ready? In the film, specifically, he says something about the cape being ironed out. But he is not seen wearing the physical suit after that. He's wearing the metaphorical suit with the cameras and stuff. Not CGI. It's not CGI, but it's the holographic barf stuff. Why would he say to do that when he's not seen using it again? Also, when Peter takes back the glasses, that is a focal point, pun intended, for the film. Is the glasses that Tony gave him that is able to control the drones and stuff. In order for Peter to give it to Mysterio, he had to give permission. He said, he had to give him permission to take it vocally. When Peter got him back, he didn't do that. It was supposed to say, that you give permission for this person to use it. Peter didn't do that. And it's not specified if there are rules against it saying that he didn't have to do that because he previously owned it. In the film, they say that whoever has the glasses has to ask, or has to be given permission to own them because they were, high-tech Stark stuff. He never asked permission, and he never got to say, is he dead? He never said, is he dead? The glasses, it was Edith in the glasses, told him that all illusions are down. That, he could have said, is he faking? Is he dead? Is he really here? Didn't say anything. And because he was not given the glasses with permission, it was still under Mysterio stuff. I think Mysterio is still alive. There's absolutely no way they would have killed him off that quick, especially if they were considering a Sinister Six. Because you would have Vulture, possibly Morbius, because of the Vulture connection. You would have Scorpion, because he was teased at the end of Homecoming. And you have Mysterio. That's 4 out of the 6. You just need maybe Doc Ock. I think Kraven the Hunter was teased at one point and is being teased for the next film. So you'd have Kraven the Hunter, and then one more person. Maybe Green Goblin, possibly. I don't know where they're going with it. But you cannot tell me that he is dead. Because there are too many facts that point to him being alive. It is just another illusion. And, my point stands with that. But Jake Gyllenhaal was an amazing choice for Mysterio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
And seeing J.K. Simmons at the end as being J. Jonah Jameson, that was amazing. Seeing him kind of be like, what is his name? You know who I'm talking about, right? The crazy guy, Alex Jones? Is that his name?
It's Alex or Alan, something like that.
I think it's Alex Jones. Alan Jones is AJ Styles. I think it's Alex Jones.
Alex Jones kind of got thrown off the side of the earth. Honestly,
no, he came back a little bit because he was doing stupid stuff regarding masks in Texas. That's where all the memes came out of, with him like saying, "You look here," and running towards him or something.
You're fake a fraud.
I've seen the videos. It was stupid. He's crazy. The fact that he was on Joe Rogan's podcast still perplexes me.
Two crazy people.
Yes, two crazy people, but still. Him being kind of like the InfoWars, that was the name I was looking for, InfoWars type of guy. It was kind of cool. It does put a different spin on the Daily Planet. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's DC. Daily Bugle, but it was still cool. I think we kind of spent too long on 3. But moving on to number 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, but number 2 are both the same for us.
You ready?
Hold on. There's one way to say it. We both count to 3 and say it at the same time.
1, 2, 3. Infinity War.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Is it really Infinity War for you?
Yeah.
Really?
Infinity War.
How's it Infinity War for you?
It just is.
For number 2.
I think we should just talk about 2 and 1 together. Really, because it's kind of just that story together. Do you agree?
So what, talk about Infinity War first and then Endgame? Or?
My number 2, Infinity War. My number 1, Endgame.
My number 2 is Endgame. My number 1 is Infinity War.
Okay, let's start with Infinity War. Okay. If that's okay.
That's fine. It would make more sense to start with Infinity War because it was first.
I love Infinity War. That's why it's number 2 for me, and that's why it's number 1 for you. There's nothing wrong with the movie. It's just I feel that Endgame was just that. It was the send-off you wanted for those characters. For the most part.
So cinematically, Infinity War was better.
Yes, I agree.
Storytelling, it was better because you had the 3 sides. Or, well, I wouldn't say 3 sides. The focal points. 1, Thanos was portrayed as the hero of the film. You know what I mean? It was through his eyes, his actions. Thanos was the focal point. And then you had Thor being the antagonist because he is hell-bent on stopping Thanos. And his whole goal is killing Thanos. So he's the antagonist of this. And then you have, basically the three sides of the movie. You have one, which is on Earth with Captain America and his group. The second is Iron Man and his group in space with Doctor Strange and the Guardians. And then you have, I guess technically 4. Because you have Thor, Rocket, and Groot doing their own thing. And you have Thanos moving around and trying to collect whatever stones he has left. It's a good film because it shows you, minus really 2 of the stones, how he gets each of the stone, how he is more powerful than you think, how it's all led up to this. This is the one film that should have grossed more than an Endgame. I think this film should have grossed more just because of the hype. The hype was there for Infinity War.
Oh, yeah.
Endgame, it was slower because they didn't show any trailers for the longest time. You know what I mean? Endgame, they were waiting to show things. And then again, it was only like the first 15, 20 minutes of the film that they really showed. You know what I mean? Even though that was kind of BS because it showed about the first hour in the trailer because of the walking scene with them in the suits and stuff. Even though it kind of didn't show it in the first trailer and the second trailer really didn't show it. Like, to me, Infinity War is the top Marvel movie. MCU movie, I'm sorry.
Cinematically, yes.
And storytelling. This is the Russo brothers at their best in this film. Because Endgame is good too. And I'll get to why Endgame is good too. Because I've recently watched it again. I've watched Infinity War like 3 times. It's probably it. Besides like Guardians or Iron Man 3, it is like the most watched movie for me because I like it so much. I watched it opening day, and then I went to watch it again the next day, and then I think it was about a year ago I watched it again by myself. And then I've only watched Endgame twice, just because length, and I didn't have the time to watch it before. But Infinity War was just so great because it introduced the stones. You see them in full power with the gauntlet. You don't think Thanos is actually going to snap, and then he does. You think, oh, it's just going to be, without thinking of the Infinity War Part 2, which where they were calling it before Endgame. It was just, oh, it's going to be another Marvel movie. Thanos is going to get defeated at the end. No, he snaps. I think it was supposed to be like they had considered the beginning of Endgame to be the ending of Infinity War, where he snaps at the end of, instead of snapping at the end of Infinity War, snap at the beginning of Endgame and have it do like that. Would have made the movie a lot longer.
It would have honestly just been like The Hobbit, where it's like the end of...
Were you talking about Desolation of Smaug?
Yes.
Smaug? I'm sorry.
Speaking of Benedict.
Speaking of Benedict. But, like, it's one of those films that is so good that you can't really crap on it. I mean, minus not having a lot of Captain America in it, just because he was kind of pushed aside for this film. And it makes up for it in Endgame. But, because this film was just really Thor and Thanos, with Gamora and Iron Man, the next runner-ups. Because it was about Thor being the total badass that he is, instead of... He had the comedic stuff, but he was also just being, Thor. Like the cool Thor. And Thanos just being the ultimate villain, finally doing his plan. And then Gamora being the one that that pieces everything together and tries to help stop Thanos and then gets killed in the process, and Iron Man being the one to actually try to put up a fight with him. But, I mean, other than that, it was a good film. I thought it was really good. That's why it's number one for me. But I'll go on to this when I was going to bring up the Iron Spider. The Iron Spider suit. It's good, I guess, for the MCU, but I wish they had the original Iron Spider suit from the comics. Because that one looks a lot better. It's a lot cleaner. It is the actual Iron Spider suit. The blue and the blue and the gold doesn't work for me in that suit. In the way that the red is. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. The logo's cool and stuff, but it's just not there for me. But your thoughts?
As you were talking, I was thinking of some things to say, so I'm just going to say, what I was just thinking about, and that is, with Endgame, why it's number one for me is Infinity War, like seeing the people fade, right?
Yeah.
Infinity War didn't make me cry.
I call BS on that.
Logan didn't make me cry.
I call BS on that too.
Endgame did. I feel that, yes, cinematically, Infinity War is better, but at the same time, I think Endgame drew more emotions out, and it brought more people, like, fans together. At that particular time, especially in the theater, I had plenty of people who I knew that were in the theater when we were leaving, and we all were kind of like sobbing, like me and my friend Nick, and all that stuff. We were just
but you cannot say that you did not tear up in Infinity War, especially when Spider-Man died.
I was more shocked than anything.
Well, my thing is, when Spider-Man dies, it's like, he, because of his powers, because of his regeneration ability, even though it's not like Logan or something where he can just heal, he feels all of it.
Yes.
No one else felt anything, really. It wasn't really, like, centered on that they felt anything like they were dying. They just noticed that they were going. He was the one person that took the longest to be snapped away. Just like in Endgame, it was Thanos who took the longest to snap away. He was the last person to go. For Spider-Man, he felt everything. His spider sense could feel that he was about to die.
Yes.
And then it took the longest because he was trying to heal himself from doing it.
That's true, and that's exactly what happened. However, you didn't find that out until a bunch of fanboys started saying it on the internet. So that didn't go about like, oh, he felt everything because of Spidey senses. Like, do you really?
It was also the directors that started saying
something.
Do
you really think in the moment in the movie theater, I was thinking, oh man, it's taking a long time because he's Spider-Man. No, I didn't think that. I was just like, crap, he's getting faded too.
No, but in the film it makes you think because he says, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
And I know, and I understand that,
and
but...
he can, you can tell that he's starting to be dusted away because his suit, if you look at his suit, it's starting to go away as he's talking, as he's telling him that he feels something wrong.
I just enjoyed...
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Drax did it too because he said Quill and then started to go away. That kind of shows how powerful Drax was. But he also had seen somebody, I think it was Mantis that went away before he did. So he could tell something was wrong. But with Spider-Man, in that moment, yeah, I guess you could say you don't know. Oh, it's you don't say it's his Spidey sense.
It's not the fact. It's just the fact that was I thinking about that whenever it was happening.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
you're
not thinking about it. But when you look at it, just in the moment, it's like he knows something's wrong. He can start to feel this stuff going wrong. Just the character, not Tom Holland because he is older, but the character. He is 15 years old. He is experiencing this. He can feel everything. He knows he's dying. The last thing that he says is that he's sorry. That is sad.
The only thing in Infinity War that could have remotely close to have brought me to tears was Gamora getting thrown off.
That's because of the score.
That's
because of the music.
There's nothing else that could have really... Spider-Man really didn't do it for me. That would have been the closest thing, and I don't even remember that.
I do, because I can remember
I'm not sitting here saying, oh yeah, I don't cry, I'm a manly man. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that Endgame made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me excited, and it made me have closure at the end. Okay? That's the thing that...
Oh, I'm going to get to Endgame.
That's something that a movie should have. And I just feel like that's why, yes, cinematically, that movie is... Infinity War is superior to Endgame. But I was able to get all the emotions.
You're able to get more out of
it. I was able to get just as much out of that movie as I was the original Iron Man, freaking Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man. You know what I mean? I was able to get all that stuff combined into one movie with Endgame. Wow. You walk into Endgame, you're like, oh, everyone's dead. This is going to be a depressing movie. And then it was hilarious the entire time until the very end.
Not really true. But speaking of Endgame, let's just switch on to Endgame since we're going into it. Because it is your number one. I wouldn't necessarily say it was comedy all the way through.
No, it's not. But I'm saying that there was plenty of it.
Oh, yeah. That's just because it's a Marvel movie and Disney says, oh, it's got to be funny.
I just love that they were like...
it's got to be funny.
Ugh, that was gross.
Shut up. I know. The laugh was okay.
Oh, but the taser face thing was bad last time, huh?
No, I was just trying to say something about the Disney Mickey Mouse, Oh. No, it's not a democracy. Dictatorship.
The only thing I remember is that when they said that this was going to be the most comedic, at least Avengers movie that they have made, I was like, yeah, because there's 3 hours to pack it in. I'm sure there was plenty of
BS.
Comedic
they tried to make
there.
Age of Ultron way more comedic, and look how that ended up.
Don't get me started.
Especially with Cap saying language after everybody cusses.
If I can't say anything bad about Incredible Hulk or Thor, then we can't talk about Age of Ultron.
If that was not true, we couldn't say anything about Last Jedi.
I'm not ever saying anything.
That's why I'm not gonna say anything.
Until we
have that Last Jedi episode.
I am never gonna say. I'm not gonna say something bad about Last Jedi because I'm going to say things about Last Jedi that are bad.
All right, right here and now. Through audio, we're going to have proof. We are going to, after the Last Jedi episode that we make, whenever it may be, after that point, we will not say anything bad about The Last Jedi because we will get it all out of our system.
Dalton can't speak for me.
But, where was I going with this? What were we talking about before we started talking about The Last Jedi and Age of Ultron? Comedic. Talking about how it was a comedic movie.
Talk about how
it was not really comedic.
You talk about that and then say the stuff that you want to talk bad about it, and then good, and then we'll move out.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Just because, it's, there's comedy, but it's maybe not as well balanced because some serious points are just kind of forced comedy. That's just in some of it. But it was still kind of funny. But the bad things I want to say about Endgame, and take a wild guess about who it's about. Take a wild guess.
Oh, me?
Yes, I'm talking to you. You're the only person in here besides the dog.
Thor?
No.
Oh, no. God, Hulk.
No.
Really?
Captain Marvel.
Oh.
This movie is one of the reasons why I don't like Captain Marvel. Her writing in it is god awful. It makes her look, and I'm just gonna say it.
Did she even speak?
Yes,
I don't even
it was
remember.
limited. She was limited screen time in the film, but
That's a good thing though.
yes, I wish she had less screen time because throughout the entire film, she's a bitch.
Okay.
Because I rewatched it and I realized it again. The reason I say this, one, after she brings Tony back and they start talking about a game plan to beat Thanos, she says, well, I'll be back. And it's like, where are you going? Well, I'm going to go kill Thanos. One, that's a little hot-headed. Two, that's arrogance, and that's why I don't like the character. Three, they talk about we weren't able to beat Thanos the first time. Oh, that's because you didn't have me. Really? Like, it's making me hate the character. Especially even after that in the scene where it's 5 years later and they're all the holographic stuff trying to give a report to voice crack to Black Widow. Even her stuff in that it's cringy. And at the end when she comes in, it's like hey Peter Parker, you got something for me? That was cringy too. Like just
that sounded weird.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But it was just her writing and the way that the character was portrayed was god awful to me, and she was just, I will say it again, a bitch. Especially at the end when she's trying to fight Thanos, where they're fighting over the gauntlet, and they're tussling a little bit, and he headbutts her, she doesn't move, and she gets the upper hand, and like looks like he's gonna pry his fingers apart. Mm-hmm. In a way, to me, that was the writers basically saying that this character's way too OP. We made her way too OP. Let's make you hate her. Because that's what it did to me. And then when she got hit with the Power Stone, I was cheering inside. Because there's probably way too many women in that theater that would have got mad at me if I started cheering.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you remember the scene where all of the female characters come together?
Yeah, isn't it technically in the comics? Isn't it A-Force? I think it's
called?
Yeah,
something like that. I actually enjoyed that scene. However, this was just something that popped in my head for modern, I guess, comedy. You know that meme where it's Family Guy and there's like all in, and it's like, no, not you, not you, not you. You know that? It's like the Family Guy thing.
I think
it's like the meme. It's like that, and it's like all of them putting their hands in, and then like Captain Marvel comes in, and it's like, not you.
No, I remember.
Everyone else is fine.
I remember the one. There's a meme about it. It's the Power Rangers doing like the all-in stuff, and there's a random purple Teletubby that comes in.
Okay, well, yeah,
that's what it's like to me.
That's Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel's the Teletubby in the Power Rangers.
Like I enjoyed the scene where it was like showing that these female superheroes can just go at it too.
I liked it better.
Captain Marvel.
I liked it better in Infinity War.
Yeah,
that was done way better, especially when it was not because it was too many people in Endgame. Showing just 3 people being Okoye, Black Widow, and Scarlet Witch. She's not Scarlet Witch, but in the films, it's not explicitly called that, but still, like. To me, that was better than having... It felt like... And not in a mean way. It felt forced in Endgame. Because it was just a repeat in basically the same spot as it was in Infinity War. It was the same thing in Infinity War, but with more people minus Black Widow. For understandable reasons, because she's dead. To me, that was just... It was forced. You know what I mean? It was way too forced for that scene, because it makes you, oh yeah, here's the women in it. You've seen them already in here. Here's all of them together, because there's enough time in a giant battle for everybody to just have a monologue and say.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was good.
I'm not saying it's bad. It was fine. It was more or less enjoyable, but it was forced. Forced, if you will.
What I'm gonna say about it though.
That was a bad joke. I'm sorry.
And for all of if you are a wrestling fan and you also listen to this podcast and not just the LA Do Wrestling podcast, I love women's wrestling, and I do love the comic book women's characters, and especially in this
when they're
movie.
Not over sexualized like they were in the comics.
If you know anything about wrestling, to me, Captain Marvel is how I feel about Tessa Blanchard.
I thought you were going to say Ronda Rousey.
No. No, actually, I dislike Tessa Blanchard a lot more than Ronda Rousey, but I mean, kind of. But no, yeah. Tessa Blanchard. That's how I feel about Captain Marvel.
Because she's arrogant and thinks she's better than...
No, anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is I like women's superheroes. I think they're cool. I think it's great. I think it's empowering. But Captain Marvel as maybe not even as the comic book character, but as in the movies, it's just a bunch of bullcrap, man.
Yeah, and
it makes him look bad, and it irritates me because I'm like, I'm excited about the Black Widow movie, but God, that Captain Marvel made it look bad.
No, just Captain Marvel made Captain Marvel look bad.
Like, Wonder Woman was, that character, and especially with Justice League and all that stuff, even though that movie is bad, Justice League, but, like, Wonder Woman's great.
I still haven't watched Wonder Woman.
She's great, you know what I mean? But Captain Marvel is not my fave.
No, not at
As
all.
the kids say, my fave.
It's just... And the reason it comes down to writing, for one, for Captain Marvel, and Brie Larson. That's all I'll say about that, because I think I went on a big spiel in the first episode about Brie Larson, how I don't like her as Captain Marvel, and I don't like her, the way that she just is all high and mighty about herself. You can be proud of yourself in one way, but to be snarky and think you're the best, as an old teacher would put it, all of that in a bag of chips. You know what teacher I'm talking about, but like, when you do it like that, especially out of character, and especially when the other actors that you're involved with are like, oh my God, will you shut up? Especially Don Cheadle. I love that interview, and I don't know what it was, but it was Don Cheadle, and I think Chris Hemsworth and Brie Larson. And there's another one that was just Brie Larson and Don Cheadle. But he was rolling his eyes, and it's like, will you... you can hear it in his head. Will you shut up? Like, you're just going on and on about yourself. And Chris Hemsworth got not into like a fight or like vocal fight, but like her saying that she was the strongest, and he's like, no, Thor's the strongest Avenger. It's like, no, I am. It's like, I'm pretty sure you're not. Like, that kind of stuff, because she's just so snarky with it, and it's not entertaining. That makes me hate the character more. You know what I mean? But I think going back to the film, overall, it was a good film. And I say that because, again, I watched it again recently. I put time out of my day to watch it again. It was a good send-off for Iron Man, not so much to me as Captain America. I know you'll disagree. I
thought it was a good send-off.
The reason I say it was not as good for Captain America is just because it throws away his entire arc. From the first movie, it was him becoming Captain America, becoming a superhero. He is, infatuated with Peggy Carter, but then he goes in the ice and misses 70 years. And then the second one, he knows that him and Peggy would never have a future together because she's older. He was frozen. He's still young.
He still loves her, though.
He still cares about her, but he also cares about Sharon Carter. This is where I'm going at. In the third one, it is very clear, in Civil War, it is very clear that him and Sharon Carter are together. Or, they care about each other, especially after Peggy dies. There was supposed to be a scene in Infinity War that showed, or they had it planned, and it was cut probably for time, but it was him and Sharon living together on the run, is what it was supposed to be during Infinity War, but they cut it. You don't see Sharon Carter throughout Infinity War or Endgame. She is making an appearance in the Falcon's Winter Soldier series, but that doesn't fix the fact that he literally ditched Sharon Carter, the young, I think it was niece, right? Like great niece or something.
Yeah.
Of Peggy. Ditches her to go sleep with her aunt, great aunt, whatever it is, back in the past and mess up a timeline. That's why I want to get into the Infinity War Endgame timeline later on, because that is one of the things that messes it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in this instance, the screenwriters and the directors have different opinions about this. The screenwriters say that is the same timeline. It is the same Captain America. He just lived in the shadows. The directors say that is a branched timeline, because there is absolutely no way that he would have been there with Peggy Carter, especially during S.H.I.E.L.D., especially during Ant-Man. The opening scene of Ant-Man was in the past with Hank Pym leaving S.H.I.E.L.D. and Peggy was there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It also throws out the Peggy Carter series, Agent Carter. How can you say that it's the same timeline and Captain America's been there all the time when clearly something got messed up somewhere? That's what I hope the Loki series kind of delves on, because he messed up the timeline as well. Excuse me. So I really hope that it does that. I feel bad because I feel like I haven't let you talk, and it's your number one.
No, I mean, that's fine. I think I had enough to say about it, really. I just feel that I got more out of it than Infinity War. That's all.
Which is fair. Like, it's your opinion. And I will bring up the Big Lebowski again and again. Like, that's your opinion, man. I have to keep bringing it up just because Jeff Bridges is in the first Iron Man. I love how you brought it
up in the one where they reference it in the movie.
I know. They're like... But I also love that it's Iron Man saying that, and he's the one that kills Jeff Bridges, who played Ironmonger in the first Iron Man film and played the Big Lebowski. Really wish Jeff Bridges would have been in the MCU more. As we end talking about our MCU films, I want to say this before we get into like the outro and stuff. One person I wish would be in the MCU, especially as a villain, is Matthew McConaughey. I feel like he would be perfect as a villain. I think it was the Stephen King adaptation. It was like it's not a horror film. It was a book that was kind of like action adventure. I can't remember what it's called. It had Idris Elba in it, and it had Matthew McConaughey in it, and it was not well perceived or well. It didn't sit well with critics and stuff, so it was really low. I think it was The Dark Tower. I think it was called. It was like the sci-fi fantasy sort of thing that was based on one of Stephen King's book series. But he played the villain in that. I just think Matthew McConaughey would be a perfect villain in the MCU, depending on what you give him. You know what I mean? Just because he has that presence, that screen presence, and I think he has the menace of a villain. But anyway, why don't you take it away, Clinton? Tell them some possible upcoming things, some ideas.
Well, as we conclude the MCU, and, that was our first, I guess, series of episodes that we've done.
Series? It'll be the first playlist.
Took way too long to get through because of problems and the mics breaking and whatnot. But we're coming to the end of September as well of 2020, which means we're heading to spooky season, and that is October. That's Halloween season. And we maybe don't watch all of them, however... We're big. I mean, I like to say for the most part, we're horror film type guys.
I'm older horror film. I'm starting to become more of a retro horror film fan.
Whether it be horror movies, whether it be horror games, whether it be horror books. I mean, I think we like that kind of stuff. And so what we're going to try to be doing is we're going to try to do a couple weeks worth of just talking about horror movies, horror games, all of that. Everything in between.
And I'm really hoping, and if we can possibly do this, if we do not try to record more episodes than we normally do, that'll be like 4 episodes for October. I feel like we should try to kind of push it to try to have more than that.
We're going to try to get...
maybe almost one every week, possibly. If that is even possible, I would try. And if not, like skip 1 week maybe, and then keep doing it. That is like hell for the editing process.
Well, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna take as much as we can with this type of season and do what we can to just have some fun with it. You will be seeing some guests in the next month. Not gonna say who, but a couple friends of ours will be on the podcast to talk about some of their favorite horror movies, horror games.
Oh, and as I interject, there are 5 weeks, roughly 5 weeks, containing the month of October. Technically 4 if you count this upcoming week of that starts with October.
I'd run it into at least the first week of November, maybe. Yeah. It'd be nice to just kind of get there.
Try to do 5 episodes for the quote-unquote spooky season. But yes, as you were saying, some guests. I definitely want to have one guest come on. He was a close friend of ours, and he's really been wanting to be on the podcast. I would love for him to be on the podcast, especially for possibly a horror movie episode. But the next episode that hopefully you'll be seeing in the next week by the time this comes out. And this is where in the editing process I want you to do that spooky voice. Because
next episode, we will be covering our favorite horror /scary/spoopy video games.
And I am really excited for it.
He just said spoopy.
Yeah, I lost a word. I lost a word for what I was gonna say. I think I was gonna say
you are the definition
anxiety?
of cringy.
It's half my podcast. I really don't care.
Anyway, but getting to the end, we are going to next week. Hopefully, we'll be doing some type.
Or at least the next episode is going to be.
We will be doing some type of horror video game episode.
Horror, scary, type of game.
Yes. But until then, follow me on Instagram at ClintonWells2001.
And you can follow me on Instagram at EllieDoBrand.
You can also follow our music engineer Chance at chance.cummings.507 on Instagram. You can also follow the podcast account at LA Podcast. And you can also follow at LA Wrestling Podcast on Instagram for our wrestling podcast.
And you can follow our wrestling podcast editor, Ethan, at EthanThompson._ on Instagram.
And thank you so much. I'm Clinton.
And I'm Dalton. And we will see you next time.
Peace.